On the Galactic Accord records, it was bolded. The physiologically unimpressive human species. Low threat, psychologically fragile, and lacking in technology. Our fate was sealed by that line. I recall the day Earth learned. When the broadcast came through, everyone on the planet was watching. The glimmering moment of hope, first touch. The galaxy. The ambassadors of the Union came into orbit wearing shackles rather than presents or pleasantries. They were not there to encourage. They arrived to contain and classify. At the age of 26, I was serving what I believed to be an orbital militia tour with no purpose. I was supposed to be monitoring and pressing buttons. Satellites. Instead, when they annihilated our defense, I saw the skies ignite. Stations within 2 minutes. They said it was protocol rather than an act of war. Weapons are unnecessary for harmless species. They never even touched down on the planet. The fuel wasn't worth us. They dispatched drones. They got what they want. People, samples, and resources. They took people, God. Among them was my younger brother. Pulled away from our house in icy quiet, then disappeared into a vehicle after being tagged and scanned. Beam. He didn't get back to us. They referred to it as a study. We referred to it as what it was, a kidnapping. However, those aliens were unable to quantify what none of them comprehended. This was in their clean little reports. People don't remain in one place. You exert pressure. We sharpen, we stop breaking, and we get far enough. They failed to keep an eye on the mining colonies, the periphery, After announcing Earth to be under biosphere restoration standards, they dropped us on backwater rock. They believed that we would disappear. Rather, we constructed in secret, in the dark, and in the dirt. I came across men who lost more than relatives. One man I met, Alexei, had his whole community destroyed by a fool threw a rock at a drone, causing orbital fire. Nothing remained. Only bones and glass. He did not weep. He made weapons. Our species is devoid of fangs or claws. We bleed easily. However, we are familiar with anger. We comprehend retaliation like no another animal in this galaxy. We stole their technology and picked it up too quickly. They undervalued the power of fear as a motivator. Death begins to seem like a non-issue when you have nothing to lose. Good value. If you are able to bring some of them along. A freighter, a standard supply vessel, was the target of the first strike. For a science station they have. We simply overwhelmed its antimatter drives and transformed it into a sun. In a hurry, 3,000 of them were gone. Their official reaction, a regrettable accident, fools who allowed us time. We enlisted, prepared, and dispersed every exiled survivor, every slave camp, every lost human outpost. We constructed 6 systems with an underground army, all under the nose of a species that believed that we were too weak to prevail, too emotional to band together, and too dim-witted to organize. Ironically, they were once correct about us. However, that was prior to them stealing our children, prior to sterilizing our women and classifying our anger as instability of the mind. Instead of using force to turn us into monsters, they used pity. Monsters also don't beg for forgiveness. The initial planet we reclaimed wasn't merely symbolic, not even strategic. A study settlement where they housed people like us. Like chopping, injecting, and prodding lab rodents. We overran it. No ships, no fury, desperation, exotic weapons, and simply repurposed mining equipment. It required 18 hours. When it was finished, we wrote a message in ash and delivered it to the Galactic Council. Not hurt. They warned you. They didn't respond. However, the following day, they lost power in 3 of their border systems. Fleets weren't necessary. We had people. They also used planets as payment. We were not taken seriously by them. Even after the initial colony was destroyed, even after we announced our. They were still in shock that it was human beings who made the announcement using their own satellites. They held pirates responsible. They said that some mercenary fringe group must have obtained Union weapons. Their data models were unable to imagine that people could act with this level of intelligence, this level of savagery, and this level of coordination. Their profile of us didn't fit it. And we bought time with that stupid hubris. Time is precious, bleeding. As they frantically sought diplomatic solutions, we were getting ready for the next attack. At the time, I was assigned to Vorta 7, a moon station circling one of the supply worlds near the center. It wasn't small enough to be ignored or large enough to matter, but it was ideal. The location had been transformed into a transport hub by the aliens. Drones and cargo ships, fuel storage facilities, all watched after by a slothful species that believed that only humans existed to keep an eye on humidity levels or clean flooring. I was undercover there. Operational sanitation. It said Unit 434C on the name tag. However, the others referred to me as Cade. As they strutted past me, they were unaware that I comprehended every word they whispered. Like the gods. We were like dogs to them. Dogs were loyal and had feelings. We were only remnants of a dying world. We weren't examined for neural implants. Did not check us for malicious transmitters. Why would they? Not hurt. The last error they made was that there were about 400 people working at the station, 3 species, none of which are human. The majority of the labor was done by the drones, and the organics behaved like disinterested managers who mostly played tactical simulations or indulged in strange, unappealing luxury. It felt normal on the day of the assault. I pretended to be on waste duty. To patch coded pulses via the station's undergrid and clean ion filters. Every one of the 14 people who worked on that moon contributed to the plan. Each and every one of them had lost everything. We weren't armed to the teeth. We made a flip. Their entire control deck crumbled into a gory heap due to their gravity first of splinters and bones. After that, we turned off oxygen control and let them to feel what it felt like to gradually suffocate, as our people did in the outer domes following the removal of life support. For security. A few of them pleaded. We took a video of it. We did not submit the entire footage to the Council of Galactics. Enough. Enough to demonstrate their ability to. A harmless species could simply be killed by experts who have received planetary suppression. It wasn't war. That was the delivering of the message. And that was a loud statement. The following week, I stood on the deck of the Kberis, which was constructed covertly from the bones and was our first real warship. Comprising smuggled parts and decrepit cargo hulks. In the past, we had engineers who created weaponry for the fallen countries. Our pilots received training in antiquated simulators. We had nothing. However, we were producing human revenge, which they had no meter for. The Council